right. Well, that was just a short little video, wasn't it? So I think that they threw quite a bit of information at you, but it was good information, and he does give you kind of a glance at what we're going to be doing in the future. But it looks like what we're doing here is just proportional equations, which once you get them, easy peasy lemon squeezy. Okay, find the missing part of the unit rate. We have $95 per 10 people equals how many dollars for one person? Okay, this one's a grammar test too. All right, let's set up our problem. Yeah, no. What is happening? Oh, I clicked the wrong button. Operational error. Okay. 95 over 10 equals, we'll say x as our variable. If you want to put a question mark, you can do that. If you want to put any letter, you can do that. 95 per 10 equals x over 1, because person is 1 person. So here's our proportional equation. 95 over 10 equals x over 1. Okay, now like you mentioned, we're going to cross multiply. If this were real life, I'd have you guys all going like this with your arms. What this shows is like you're going to go from the denominator to the other fraction's numerator and multiply, and then the other side's denominator across to the other fraction's numerator. So the top part of a fraction is called the numerator. The bottom of a fraction is called the denominator. So to cross multiply, I'm just going to go 10 times x, and that will be the first side of my equation equals 1 times 95, which is 95. Okay, now this is my equation I need to solve for. How you can read it is 10 times x equals 95. I want to isolate the variable, meaning get x by itself. The opposite of multiplication is division, so they can undo each other. I'm going to undo what's been done to the variable. I'm going to undo the multiplication by dividing by 10, because that's what is attached to the variable. Now what I do to one side of the equation, I have to do to the other so that it is balanced. So I'm going to divide this side by 10 as well. When I'm done dividing that, I get 10 divided by 10 is 1. 1 times x would be x. 1 times any number is that number. So I'm left with x on this side. Good job me, I've isolated the variable. And now, I don't know if they're going to take decimals for your answers, but that's what we're going to try. So remember, fractions are division. So in your calculator, this 95 over 10, you would put 95 divided by 10 in your calculator, and you would get 9.5. Let's see if it will take this answer. If not, we'll have to do the fractions. It takes decimals. Yay! Okay. What is the ratio of b's to the total number of a's and b's? Okay. So our numerator is going to be the number of b's. Our denominator is going to be the total number of letters that we have. So the answer that belongs in the green box, how many b's do we have? 1, 2, 3 b's. And then for our denominator, the total number of a's and b's we have is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I have, out of my 7 letters, 3 of them are b's. So 3/7 of my letter group is b's. That's the ratio of b's to a's. Okay. Another proportional equation. Find the missing rate of the missing part of the unit rate. $6.5 for 2 pounds of something. $6.50 is equal to how many dollars per pound? Okay. Set up my equation. 6.5 over 2 equals x over 1. You'll notice when I set this up, I'm writing exactly what I see here, except I'm writing an X where that unknown number is that we're going to solve for. And I'm not including what rates pound or dollars per pound, because I'm just going to do the math here. All right, so we cross multiply. 1 point times 6.5 is 6.5 equals 2 times x is 2 times x, which you can just write as 2x. When a number is right next to a variable, it means to multiply. I want to isolate the variable, get it by itself on one side of the equation so I know what it is. So in order to undo multiplication, I divide by the number that's attached to the variable, the 2. What I do to one side, I do to the other. Now I have x on this side equals 6.5 divided by 2, which I believe is 3.25. Yikes. So in real life, if you're paying $6.50 for 2 pounds, that comes down to $3.25 per 1 pound. Okay, I'm going to put in a dollar sign and see if that messes anything up. Come on, load. Oh, it's mad at me now. Let's delete that and see how it goes. Okay, it didn't like the dollar sign. We won't do that again. Okay, solve for n. So these triangles are proportionate. So they have the same dimensions. So we're going to set up our proportional equation. You can see that the 5 is like the same side length as the 15 on this larger one, and then the 6 length matches, the n length for this triangle. So we're going to solve for n by setting up a proportional equation. 5 over 6 equals 15 over n. Okay, and we're going to cross multiply. 6 times 15 is 90. And that is equal to n times 5, or 5 times n, which I'll write as 5n. To isolate the variable, I'm going to undo the multiplication. Divide by 5 on both sides. Now on this side, I'm left with n equals 90 divided by 5, which is 18. So this length would be 18. Oh, the internet. For slowness. Oh, what did I do? Okay. In September, 8 out of the 10 days were rainy. Sounds about right. How many total days in September were rainy? Remember, there are 30 days in September. Thank you. I was going to Google that. Okay. It gave us the information we needed. Okay. So, 8 days were rainy out of 10 days that they monitored the weather. We want to figure out about how many days were rainy for the whole entire month. So on the bottom here, we have the total days, and on the top, we have the rainy days. And now we will do our cross multiplication. 10 times x, I write as 10 times x, 10x, equals 30 times 8, which is 240. I did that really quickly in my head because 8 times 3 is 24. Add the 0 at the end, you get 240. Okay. Same thing, undo the multiplication with division to get the variable by itself, the variable x. X equals 240 divided by 10 would be 24. All right, so we had 24 rainy days out of 30 total days. That's a lot of rain, man. Okay, find the missing part of the unit rate. You have 40 students between 5 groups. How many students do you have per group? Oh, that's it. That's a real life. This is something I would have to figure out in real life. If I have 40 kids, I want to do 5 groups. How many kids am I going to have in each group? 40 over 5 equals x over 1 group. Okay, cross multiply. 5 times x, 5 times x equals 1 times 40. 40. Gonna undo the multiplication with division. Now we have x by itself on one side of the equation, and 40 divided by 5 is 8. So there are 8 students per each group. Pretty good group size. Okay, at a party, 70 people are right-handed and 12 people are left-handed. What is the ratio of right-handed people to the total number of people at the party? Reduce the ratio to lowest terms. Enter the number that belongs in the green box. Okay, so it says there's 70 right-handed people. There's 12 left-handed. So to figure out how many people we have all together, we have to add those numbers together. So 70 plus 12 is 82. There's a total of 82 people. 70 of those are right-handed, 12 of them are left-handed. Sounds about right. What ratio of right-handed people? So we're setting up the ratio for right-handed people. So 70 are right-handed compared to 82 total people. Okay, that ratio looks a little bit different than a fraction. You could write the fraction form like this. 70 out of 82 people are right-handed. Ratios and fractions are kind of the same idea, but we're going to do the ratio form. Okay, now I would maybe think to write 70, but it says reduce the ratio to lowest terms. So we are going to reduce the ratio like we would reduce a fraction. And what you want to do is you want to find a factor or a number that fits into both of those numbers, 70 and 82. Now they're both even numbers, so I know they're divisible by 2. So I'm going to start there. I'm going to divide both of them by 2. 70 divided by 2 is 35, compared to 82 divided by 2 is 41. All right, I don't think there's any common factors between those numbers. So I think I've reduced my ratio. So this is like if we had a smaller group of like 41 people, about 35 of those people would be right-handed, in which case about 6 of them would be left-handed. Okay. So in my green box, I should be able to put in 35 and go on, and then I've already solved for that one. For the other side of the box is 41. Oh, Tay, new lesson. That was faster than I thought. Good luck. Email me if you have questions.